The Lindsay Clancy trial has officially begun, and as a therapist and a person who loves true crime, I am invested. And it's really hard for me to watch, obviously, because of the nature of the crime. I have two kids myself, and I did also experience postpartum anxiety myself, which I've talked about on here before. And this crime just goes beyond anything that any woman would ever want to imagine could possibly happen to her children. God forbid. I have to say that at the end of that statement because it's just so horrific. I don't claim to know every single detail. I'm certainly not a prescriber myself, but I'm very interested to hear from her prescribers, and I hope they're called to the stand. I think that in lieu of expert testimony, we need to hear from the people who are prescribing this many medications to a person who was struggling the way she was struggling. Based on what I've heard so far, she was begging for help, and that help seemed to just continuously come in the form of changing her medications. I am not excusing her behavior. I am not excusing what she did. I think she should be put away for life. I also think more than one thing can be true, and I think that her providers may also need to be called to the carpet and potentially even held accountable. And I say that as a provider who also is always, afraid that something terrible will happen and I will be held responsible for another person's behavior. I think every therapist at some point has considered the possibility that a client could have something terrible happen or do something terrible, and you could end up in jail or on the stand, defending your own actions as a provider. Regardless, in this case, I feel that her providers need to be questioned and we need to know more from them. I'd love to hear everybody else's thoughts, especially if you are prescribers. I'd love to hear your thoughts.